to, okay. You should just see the presentation now without seeing all your faces on there as well. Is that correct?
That's right.
Well, all our
Okay.
faces are above on the gallery view, so we're still
Oh,
here.
yeah, yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. Good. Never quite sure because things always look a little bit different. All right. Well, the first thing I wanted to do is make some introductions. It's great to see such a good turnout. I've met a few of you. I was out at Santa Barbara a couple times last year, right after the program kicked off. I'm a native San Diegan, so I'm really was so happy to see the program kick off in California. And then Jerry was introduced to me, and I said, if you need a program coordinator, he'd be really good. So snatched Jerry up as soon as I could in terms of making program coordinator. So I'm the program manager. I run the program nationally for Math Motivators. Math Motivators is entering its sixth year. It started in 2016 in the spring with one SAT program with like 13 tutors who are UConn students in actuarial science, and they worked with half a dozen students. And you'll be surprised, I think, at how large our program is now. So I'm going to turn it over to Jerry, who you guys know in a different capacity, but now he's part of Math Motivators.
Well, hello, everyone. I'm glad to see many names that I've interacted with in my previous job, my previous role. And now I have a small role, at least right now, with the Math Motivators tutoring program. So I'm the Santa Barbara coordinator at this point. And so I'll be helping all of you who are interested in being tutors to navigate through this program. And hopefully most of you will be actually registering on our website called Volunteer Hubs after this presentation. So I'm your point person for Santa Barbara. And I also have Grace, who I'll pass it on to next, as our volunteering coordinator through the Actuarial Association. So Grace, you're next.
Okay, so hi everyone, my name is Grace, and I'm the volunteering coordinator of the Actuarial Association in UC Santa Barbara. And I'm currently coordinating with the Math Motivator program with Karen and Jerry. And if you guys have any problem like relating to this program, sorry, feel free to contact me. Yeah.
All right. So the Actuarial Foundation is surprising to people. A lot of people don't really know what it might do, but our mission is pretty straightforward. Our mission is to enhance math education and financial literacy through the talents and resources of actuaries. The vision is to have an educated public in pursuit of a secure financial future. Now we have a separate mission statement specifically for Math Motivators that I'll go into some detail in a little bit. But let me share some of the things that we do to meet this mission. So we have free resources available in math education that we provide to teachers across the nation. We have math programs for students in grades 4 through 8, expected and expected with math. And some of that curriculum we actually have embedded in our online lessons for Math Motivators, starting with this summer, because it addresses a lot of important pre-algebra concepts. It's very well done. Now, Math Academy is for younger students. We also have, I'll come back to Math Motivators. So for financial literacy, mostly working with high school students. And this has been integrated with Math Motivators recently as well. It's a program called Building Your Future and several modules on financial literacy. We have a variety of competitions and scholarships. One is a short competition called the Hardest Math Problem. It's for middle school students. Wouldn't be that hard for you guys, obviously, but students can submit correct answers. And one of the things they get some financial donations that can be put into a scholarship fund for them, as well as a laptop. And Modeling the Future Challenge is a great competition. I think we have nearly 200 entries this year. And that is a challenge in which students are given a real-world problem to address using actual science techniques and mathematical modeling. And then we have a variety of different scholarships that are available. So we're going to go back up here to the math education. since 2016, the founder of Math Motivators is Barry Jacobson. He is on our board, and he brought Math Motivators to the Actuarial Foundation. And from that very humble beginning of working with just one group of students at one school in Hartford, Connecticut, we're currently working in 15 states in about 25 cities and growing. So clearly the need is great. So let's talk a little bit about Math Motivators. So what is the mission of Math Motivators? Well, it's basically to help close the opportunity gap, which hopefully will close the achievement gap using a volunteer-driven math training program. And we pair underserved middle school and high school students with professionals and colleges with strong mathematics background. It has its roots in the actuarial community. As I stated, it started with students from UConn in the actuarial science department. This gentleman here in the bottom left, the tall one, he's so tall, the guy behind me has to put his head around him. That's Barry Jacobson. He was had a very lucrative career as an actuary, and then he's worked for a whole variety of companies, so has great connections. He decided to be a math teacher. It's kind of a midlife crisis, he claims, and his son kind of agreed. He's like, "What are you doing?" And he said, "I'm going to become a math teacher." And he taught high school math for 7 years. Then he became a tutor and was tutoring the suburbs for like $50 an hour. And he's like, "Wait a second, what about all the kids who can't afford tutoring?" So he started Math Motivators, was on the board for an inner city school, and kicked off that program. So even though we do have those roots of the actuarial science community, we can't meet all the needs of all the students who would benefit from these services by just engaging actuarial science professionals and students. So bring a friend. We welcome volunteers from all fields. In many cases, all they need to do is be able to handle high school mathematics. And so depend upon what they're tutoring, what level they would need to be comfortable with. But we also do middle school. So that's a pretty straightforward one. Okay, so I'm going to let Jerry share a little bit with you about how Math Motivators works.
All right, so the basic model is one tutor for 2 students. You're paired with 2 students. And we would ideally like the tutor to commit for a entire school term or school year. However, that's not always possible. Therefore, we can actually pair 2 tutors to students. So if one cannot follow through on that commitment, we have the other tutor as the backup one. So that can work out too. So don't be concerned too much if things change throughout your academic year and you may or may not be able to continue. But hopefully you can, and that's why you're listening today. Tutoring is once per week, and the focus is primarily on pre-algebra and algebra 1. Although Math Motivators is not limited to just these 2 subjects, but these are the primary ones. So we can always go into more advanced subjects, all the way to, I believe it's AP Calculus and Statistics. And we can also do test prep for the math portions of the SAT and ACT. So it's pretty broad where we can go with this. Let's see, materials are provided in advance of tutor sessions. So you should be well equipped with materials prior to your tutoring. And then virtual tutoring can be done using a variety of platforms. Currently, Google Classrooms is being used. What's the one? Is it GoTo?
It's a Google Meet.
Google Meets.
They used to use Google Hangout. Now they call it Google Meet.
Okay, so they changed that, so a different name. Of course, we use Zoom and MS Teams. Now we follow the platform that the school uses, and if they don't have any, we always have our own. I believe Karen said we have our own Zoom arrangement that we can customize to the school. But again, we follow the lead of the school, and of course we do training. I think we have another slide about training and webinars that we offer to the tutors. And Obviously, you would need to have a laptop with a webcam or a tablet, and of course, in a quiet or serene area. Okay, next slide. So distance tutor or remote tutoring is difficult for many students, but virtual tutoring is more convenient. Obviously, you can be anywhere at any time. So, and this is in high demand because many of the schools are closed. And so, as I mentioned, you can be anywhere. Therefore, that eliminates your commute time or the commute time for the tutoring sessions. So every hour or every minute during your volunteer time is an hour or minute that you are tutoring. So you get that efficiency there. Now, a lot of schools are still working out what kind of model or programs they're trying to use because of the closures. The one we're talking to right now, Dos Pueblos High School, that's in Goleta, our campus at UCSB is coming up with a hybrid model for next semester, which starts in January. So they haven't given us the firm go-ahead yet, but they're very interested in continuing what we started earlier in the year. So again, you have to be a little bit patient and waiting for these schools to come on board and become partners with us, but eventually they will, and I'm pretty persistent, and I'll continue to talk to them. So Math Motivators is learning and adapting to this virtual model or virtual world. So feedback from all of you who are currently studying remotely in a virtual environment will be helpful to us as well. So feel free to share your experiences with us. Okay. By the numbers. Right, so this was for last academic year. Math Motivators programs were at over 40 sites in 20 cities, 12 states, and exponentially increasing, also in DC it says. So at the point of this slide, I don't know if this is still current, Karen, but you state there's 600 volunteers from over 50 companies.
That's from last year. We had over 600 volunteers.
Oh yeah, talk about last academic year. Okay. So I'm not going to read all the data there, but you can take a glance at that. So we're growing again very fast. And then those of you who were tutors last year, and I'll have Grace mention a little bit about this. Grace, maybe you want to talk a little bit about the point about the UCSB students who volunteered for tutoring at Dos Pueblos.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just in last academic year, like I participated in this volunteer program, and we just tutor those students in 11th grade, and the course material is related to the IB mathematics, which is a little bit harder than the pre-algebra and algebra 1. We got the course material before the tutoring starts, so we just have some time to discuss and talk about the problems or any materials that the teacher provided, and then we just enter into the classroom and face-to-face with the students, and then we just try to help them figuring out the solution of those problems. So it's gonna be like one tutor to 2 to 3 students together in just one group. Yeah, I think probably there are several people online like Jasmine or any other people. They just also enter in this program last year, and we have a pretty good experience at that time.
And Jasmine, if you want to make a comment here too, a brief comment, you can. And also, I know Kathleen is on this call too, and she told me she was also a tutor. So do either of you have any comments about your experience at Dos Pueblos?
Yeah, sure. I can say a few things. I was part of this program as well, and I was driving tutors to the high school that we're in. And most of the time, it took a really long time back and forth just to commute. So I'm really glad that we're having this virtually, so it saves a lot of time. The program itself, I think it's really amazing for what they do. and I really enjoyed, tutoring students, building bonds with them, even though we only tutor each week. But yeah.
Okay, thank you for that. Kathleen, do you have anything to share? No? Yes, no? Okay, that's fine. So this past May through August, Math Motivators piloted 6 virtual tutoring programs for students in 6 cities and 6 states. And this fall, we're looking at 30 sites and adding another 20 additional sites by the end of the school year. So again, that growth is very evident. Okay, next slide. I was kidding with Karen about this map. I said, this is our new electoral map for the next election. And those are the votes. Now we're just messing around with this, but you can see all the regions that Math Motivators is a part of in the United States. So obviously I'm in region 8 right now, but there are large swaths of areas, and the chart here shows the different regions. So we have New England, Mid-Atlantic, Southeast, Great Lakes, Heartland, Southwest, Mountain region, and of course our Pacific. And then you can, I don't know if you make those out, but the little light green dots are the cities that we're already in, and the black dots are the ones we're going to go into soon. That's my understanding. And I think.
So I'll just make a note that this map was made in September, end of September. And since that time, there's 2 cities that we're in that are missing from this map. We just had to have it revised. So there's a tremendous interest from both companies and universities for getting involved. Several of those black or gray dots are going to be turning green shortly. And, our primary companies that we work with are companies that are employ a lot of actuaries, because we're mostly working with insurance companies. But again, we're not limited to that. So we do have engineering firms as well that we've been working with. And so the networking opportunities, though, as students in the actuarial sciences, I mean, they're really huge. So we'll talk a little bit more about the benefits on this next slide.
All right, so benefits for you as tutors. Obviously, there's a sense of personal satisfaction by being a tutor. And hopefully we'll be able to show a little video clip of tutoring, virtual tutoring session in a bit. So you can see, get a kind of a sense of what that feels like. Obviously by tutoring, you're going to be developing your communication skills, which is very important in all aspects of your student career and also professional career. You develop leadership skills and networking opportunities, especially with the Math Motivators program. We have had college students get internships from the connections they've made with actuaries through Math Motivators. So that's a big plus for tutors, your connections and your networking. And for colleges, of course, we beef up our programs by having strong graduates, by participating in this, and gives the industry notice about us, and other colleges and universities as well. And the benefits for actuarial and other participating professions, I don't envision too many actuaries per se in our area of Santa Barbara doing this, but again, there's outreach, and actuaries can make a name for themselves by participating in Math Motivators. And it obviously adds a positive image to the profession and those in other mathematical or mathematically focused professions.
So I'm going to add just a little bit to that, and that is, when you do these types of programs, we present regularly at the SOA. We just presented at the CAS. So Math Motivators is getting quite known very well known actually. So it doesn't hurt to have it on your resume. And you'll run into people who have worked in Math Motivators programs and as college students, and then they end up in a corporation. They take Math Motivators there. So it's a good connection. It's another way to show some networking. And of course, the actual science profession is amazing when it comes to volunteering and volunteers. So and that's true for many others as well. But I'd have to say we still are probably about 80% or more of our tutors are still coming from the actual science field, even though we're up to about 700 tutors. So here's an example of one of our tutors who was a UConn student, and then he ended up becoming our first corporate actuary. He took the program when he went to work at Mass Mutual up to Springfield, Massachusetts. So I'll just give you a few seconds to read that quote from him. So you might be wondering, like, how do we know if it works? Well, to be honest with you, we're still really working to have a more robust study. It's difficult to compare things across states. They're using different types of assessments. I just put an application to the Gates Foundation, actually, because they would partner us with AIR, American Institute of Research, in order to help secure and develop a really robust study. But we do have plenty of evidence to show that it's working. Students in Hartford, Connecticut, who receive tutoring through Math Motivators achieved the #1 average SAT math score in the state of Connecticut when compared to other students who are of similar socioeconomic status as measured by being eligible for free and reduced lunch, which is a standard measure for identifying students who are considered to be underserved. At another Hartford school, Math Motivators saw their test scores improve 45% over the benchmark. They were expected to increase by, I think, 10 percentage points. No, they're expected to increase by 21 percentage points, and they increased by 31 percentage points, I believe, for the that particular cohort of students. My favorite of these, though, it comes from Des Moines. The founder, Barry Jacobson, and I were visiting the Des Moines high schools last February, right before everything closed down. We walked in the door and the principal says, Math Motivator's great. Can we talk to you for a minute? Of course, that could be bad going to the principal's office. He said, sure. We sat down with them and he says, I just want to tell you that this program is amazing. And he handed us some data and showed students' test scores increasing just in the one term. They had 20 students in the program who are in 9th grade. They were all at risk of failing in October. And by the end of the semester, 19 out of 20 had passed algebra, with 60% of them having A's and B's. He has a nice anecdote for us as well. A student he was had taken under his wing. He was looking at his report card and he says, okay, let's see, F in environmental science and an F in a foreign language and an F in English, and he had F's on everything except math. And he said, wait, you got a C in math. That's great. How'd you get a C in math? What's the difference? And the student just said, Math Motivators. So you can't ask for a better testimonial than that. So what do volunteers think of their virtual tutoring experiences? This is Joaquin Camara. He's an young Oliver Wyman actuary. Let you take a minute to read that quote from him. Okay. Jerry, you think we have time to play the video clip?
Yeah, we're at almost half an hour, so I think we can do it.
Okay, so while this gets ready to play, and I have to do a couple things to make it work, I'll let Jerry and Grace see if there's any questions at this point, and bear with me because I might mess this up, just saying.
Well, since there are quite a few of you, if any of you would like to comment, have some of you done tutoring previously, whether it be in high school or now even? Anybody want to make a comment about that?
Yeah, I can share my experience. I have I have been tutoring math and science classes throughout my entire 3 years of high school. And I think I've been doing something really similar to what we're doing as math motivators, because I was really like tutoring somebody who was like almost failing. And yeah, it was a quite challenge for me at the beginning, because when you first go to tutor somebody who is like at a huge difference educating level than you do, and he probably knows nothing about math, and you just need to be really patient, and you have to like gradually learn how to tutor these sort of students. And yeah, I think be patient is one of the most important thing for a tutor to be a success. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. I think Karen's ready with the video clip. Karen?
I'm not sure if I can get the sound to play. I'm looking for the controls
Okay.
there. I'll go ahead and I could go ahead and try it, but I couldn't see where to share computer sound. Don't know why I can't see it. So if it doesn't play, we'll send you the PowerPoint. You guys can watch it that way. So we'll give it a shot here.
So I think Chloe made a good point that patience is a great virtue of a tutor.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's a collaboration with the student. And let's see, looks like.
I think I might get it. Wait,
yeah,
wait.
looks like you're gonna get it.
I might. Yeah, there's always something can go wrong. Here we go.
Hey Malia,
Hi.
how are you?
Good.
Long time no see. How have you been?
Good.
Cool, cool. Awesome stuff. Sorry I couldn't make last week's session. Work got pretty crazy, but happy to be back. Where did you guys leave off last time? I'll share my screen and then that will help maybe jog memory on where you guys ended up. Was it comparing?
I was telling him about like
in the on your screen, or if you don't see annotated, it might say 3 dots and then more. And then after that, you can look, and it should say annotate.
Do you want me to answer the question?
Yes. So you can answer them either by telling me, or you can just type it in, annotating from the shared screen directly.
Okay. 32, like 100.
What's that?
So 32.
The first one, 32? Yeah. Correct. Great job. What about number 2?
100?
Yeah, you got it. Every percent is a number divided by 100. All right. How about number 3?
100?
Yeah, you got it. All right, number 4.
Whoa. 215?
You got it.
Okay, so I wanted to share that with you. Can you guys hear me now?
Mm-hmm.
So I want to share that with you because what it shows, do you see her face light up when she saw her math tutor? Like she was so beside herself. That's what happens with individual tutoring and relationships, right? These students may not otherwise necessarily want to do math, especially if it's been a challenge for them, but it's the personal connection. Half of this is relationships. In fact, math motivators is probably more about relationship building and mentoring than mathematics, right? And so that was the example of a middle school student, a young middle school student working with an actuary. She had tremendous patience, anticipating if she would see what was happening in terms of the numerator and denominator, what its meaning was. But it's very rewarding. He's still tutoring her, by the way. He tutored in the summer program, and he asked to keep working with Melia throughout this year. So chances are you'll be working with a high school, but the types of relationship building is not that different. I had a long talk today with our two math curriculum development, curriculum heads at schools in Des Moines, and I asked how it was going. And the two main anecdotes that she gave were mostly about the relationships, the students feeling comfortable having that support one-on-one, being able to have, you know, she said, we talked a little about life, and then we did a math problem, and it made me comfortable, and I don't feel embarrassed. And so a lot of that is what occurs during this time, is developing those relationships with students, which is why we want that consistency. But like Jerry said, you can do like you have two tutors and can stick with, you know, one or two students during that time. You'll still have that type of relationship consistency. It's different than like a drop-in kind of situation where they may not know the tutor. So hopefully you enjoyed watching a bit of that. Middle school students are pretty cute. All right, so let's go back to where we were, and if I can get this to go to the right page. So we are.
I think you're going to slide 14.
Yeah. I'm getting some really strange behavior of this for some reason. So just bear with me here, Jerry. It is being very problematic at the moment. Okay, here we go. All right. So we just watched a tutoring session in action. Slight distractions, but I'm going to let Jerry take it from here.
Right. So it's a little bit of a, well, it's not really a comic, but it kind of looks like a comic. But you can see some of the comments from the elementary school students versus the high school students. So there's a lot of little chatting and little comments about, oh, my dog is here, or bananas, so forth and so on. So as you can see, little fun comments, and you will get those if you are in the elementary school level. However, our focus is pretty much in the middle schools and high schools. So you can see that when we look at the high schools, there's very little talking there. And obviously you want to encourage your students to talk, and that's how we make this bond between the student and ourselves. But this is just a visual to give you an idea of the variety of students that you may encounter at various levels. I think that's all I wanted to say on that.
I just finally got the slideshow part to work. Okay. So we do provide training, and this is new. I think last year you probably had some discussions about how to tutor effectively, but we have several, 5 of us who are former classroom teachers. I taught both high school and college mathematics and science. So there's a group of us who have worked together to put together trainings and also some of the other materials if the schools decide to use our curriculum as opposed to using theirs, or in addition to using theirs. So all the tutors expect to go through at least one training. Jerry's had to go through all of them recently as a program coordinator. In fact, he's going to be presenting some of those. So we do these through webinars. One of them is just on virtual tutoring in general. How do you build that relationship when you're tutoring virtually? It's a little bit more of a challenge. What are some things you need to be considering? What are things could go wrong, and how do you troubleshoot that? And then also that includes particular training, whatever platform it is you're going to be using, because there's some nuances there. Building student self-efficacy, that's an enormously important topic. If students don't believe that they can do mathematics, then they're not set up mentally to persevere. So student self-efficacy is critically important, and also student self-advocacy. How do they advocate for themselves? How do you also help them to take charge of some of their own learning? Improving students' basic skills, we know that a lot of what occurs is that students never really mastered some of the foundations that they need in mathematics, fractions, decimals, understanding negatives, operations on all of those, using the distributive property, understanding that, graphs and when you're taking looking at a linear equation on a graph, that slope is a rate of change, right? So these very foundational concepts and what those means, unit analysis. How do you know when to stop and back up? And how do you do that in a way that where a student may not, lose face because they're like, I'm in 10th grade and they can't do fractions? Well, that's the truth of the matter, is that a lot of people, you could take the same type of algebra problem and it could be presented with, decimals or negatives and fractions, and all of a sudden students feel like they can't do it. So we have a whole unit, a whole webinar focused on basic skills and how to present things differently. And what's really nice about these webinars is that these have become discussions. People bring different ideas of things that work for them. Working with students one-on-two, that is the model we use, the one-on-two. So how do you ensure that you're still individualizing, but one student isn't, having your attention at the time the other student is dropping off? Adjusting to student behaviors obviously address some of the issues that occur in the previous slide. So high energy and low energy students, how do you make sure that they're engaged appropriately? So we expect at least participation in at least one webinar. We'll look at establishing cohorts so that you guys could be invited to the same ones, so you could have that discussion with each other. But we also do have created videos, and those will be part of the tutor toolkit, which is about to go online anytime now. So that if you miss it and you need to come back and do a self-guided one, that's fine. The tutor toolkit gives the same things in writing, plus some additional tools for you to use as well. So we hope that you can participate in as many of those as you can. Those will all be put into our volunteer management system as well, so that you can get credit for your volunteer hours that way. All be tracked. Jerry, you want to talk about this at all, or did you want me to go for this side?
I think you're more proficient at these since you've seen them.
Okay.
And Grace might make a comment too.
Probably I can comment
Grace.
something about Zoom. Yeah, that's okay. You can go ahead.
All right. So this is already a little bit outdated. That's why there's a little bit of like, I'm not sure I want to cover the slide, because breakout rooms, now Google Meet has them as of this month. A lot of these different platforms have been trying to kind of catch up with Zoom. So this is one of the slides is taken from the virtual tutoring training. So we go over like, what are some of the different things that you might encounter, what is possible, what can be done in those different systems, and then some troubleshooting as well. And then, if with breakout rooms, one of the things that Grace was saying, well, are they going to be random? Because oftentimes they're done that way, but those can all be controlled and be broken out by the intended groups. Like I said, Google Meet used to have to do separate meeting invites, and then one person could go oversee them all, because we do have oversight, or the school has oversight over what's happening in the rooms for safety features. That's to protect you as much as the students. And then MS Teams just now got breakout rooms. So any of these are possible. Some schools use even yet another system that we'll be using with Shelton, Washington, by the way. So it's whichever ones that they need us to use that's going to work with their system. So our staff have been very busy making sure we can support each other and become more proficient in each of these. So this will be gone over again when we do the virtual tutoring training, and these different things that we need to worry about, or different features and how to use them based on whichever platform we'll be using. And that, Jerry's looking at a variety of different schools, so who knows? It could be a range of things. All right. Grace or Jerry, this is yours. Take it away.
Okay. So actually what's new for the next academic year is like everything gonna be virtual tutoring. So actually I think for the winter quarter we will do the virtual tutoring about this program. And then basically the Math Motivator program would be cover the pre-algebra and algebra lessons for programs. I think it might cover the pre-algebra and algebra 1, which are easier than the IB mathematics, I think. So probably this content's gonna be like more better, gonna be better than the previous one, like in last year. Also, the new resources for tutors is like we have training, like the webinars and the tutor toolkits, which could be like additional tools for tutors to help students. And lastly, the Math Motivator University clubs, probably Jerry could share something about that one.
Sure. So many of you are members of the Actuarial Association, which is a student club. And then there's Factor, the female actuarial organization. And then we used to have one called FAME, Financial Analysis and Math Education. So we have a lot of student clubs, obviously. So it's possible that we can spin off and have a specific club for math motivators tutors. And that's something we were chatting about earlier today. And maybe Chloe, you can bring it up with your leadership and maybe bring that up as a discussion topic if you would like. If we have enough tutors and a large interest in that, we could have a specific club dedicated to math motivators. So definitely that's an option for the students here. Okay. Okay. Well, who, what, where, when, and do we tutor? So other possibilities. So nonprofit organizations, an example would be the Boys and Girls Club. That's what Karen told me earlier today, is an outreach that we could go outside of the traditional public schools. Community learning centers is also an area that we could pursue. And although we want to really stick with the public schools right now, we can grow into these other areas later. But as you can see, the sky's the limit really in terms of going out and finding other places to offer tutoring. And especially, we can't emphasize it enough, the virtual tutoring, we can go anywhere and be at other locations. So the goal is to begin virtual tutoring January 2021. So it's coming right around the corner. And as I said earlier in my comment about Dos Pueblos High School, they're in the hybrid model. So half their students they plan to bring into the classroom, the other half will be remote. So we'll see what goes on and what kind of curriculums will be brought forth in the virtual environment. But that's coming. Santa Barbara area program. So I'm a native of Santa Barbara and I went to all the public schools here in Santa Barbara. So I'm pretty familiar with every one of them. So we have Dos Pueblos from earlier this year. They're committed. Santa Barbara High, the principal already replied to me. She's very interested in partnering with math motivators. So I'm really excited. Santa Barbara High School is a quite large high school. And then San Marcos is also a pretty large high school, but I reached out to the principal, but have not heard anything yet, but I will follow up. Then the middle schools are what we call the junior highs, include Goleta Valley, La Cumbre, La Colina, and Santa Barbara Junior High. And these are all feeder schools that go into these other three big high schools. So there's a connection as we get into the middle schools or junior highs that we can continue that tutoring into the high schools. It'll make a nice transition or flow. Our volunteers obviously are you, primarily the Actuarial Association students. However, we have an honors program at UCSB, which I'm sure many of you are already a part of. So we're looking for majors outside of the actuarial science area. So that can include math, econ, engineering, physics, and even education. So there's a broad area, a broad selection of majors that can come into do tutoring with math motivator. So you don't have to be just a math oriented person to participate. Karen, any other comments about that?
Bring a friend.
Well, bring a friend. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't emphasize that enough. Oh, Grace, tell me about your experience with the Volunteer Hub.
Okay. So first, you guys need to register on the Volunteer Hub website, and then you guys need to create the new account for yourself. Probably you can use your UCSB email, which could provide more convenience, and then use the join code UCSB and use the starting for your background check. And actually, for since our virtual tutoring will begin in the next winter quarter, so in the winter quarter, sorry, and all the events will be added at the beginning of those of the quarter. So if you guys just already register and sign in, you can see all the events posted, and then you can sign up, choose your available time and sign up for that events. So then, yeah, you can just enter into that program. Do you have something to add on, Jerry?
It's pretty straightforward to register, and you can do this anytime, and right after or soon right after this info session, you can go on there and register, and if you're very, very serious about it, just go ahead and do it. And we'll figure out, once the schools sign up with us and join us, we'll put out those schedules and get you going. Okay, so it's not hard to register. I encourage, we'll take more than less tutors, and we can always move you around in the virtual space. Okay, so again, register and encourage your friends to do so too.
And you're not committing yourself to anything at this point.
Oh, yeah.
So if you say,
That's right.
I don't need my schedule, I don't know my schedule, I'm not sure
Right.
what I can do, all you're doing is getting registered. If you use the join code UCSB, it'll put you in that group. Everybody's going to have to do a background check, and we'll be using Sterling for that. You don't need to worry about that just yet. That will be a separate join code, but just at least, even if you get registered, we'll know who you are, and we can move you into the group if you forget to add the join code. But you're basically just getting set up, and then you can join. We'll see about getting some dates scheduled for the cohort of volunteers for the Santa Barbara programs, and get training set up that way. But if you want to do additional ones and be in the scheduled, like 1 or 2 of the trainings, because not everybody's going to be able to do 5, you're welcome to join any of the trainings that are out there you'll see in Volunteer Hub as well. You might meet some other students and actuaries from across the country doing so.
And I already posted the link in the chat box. You can just go ahead and register, probably.
Thank you, Grace.
All righty, so we're at the slide where we're near the conclusion of our presentation or our info session. So does anyone have any questions for us? Anything on your mind? Don't be that quiet, please.
This is like the high school students in that slide.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to answer anything.
It doesn't have to be a question. It can be a comment too about something that you've experienced.
Do we have any requirement for who can become the tutors?
So what's the requirement to be a tutor?
Yeah.
Karen?
Being patient.
Yeah, the thing is, we'll provide training, so don't worry about that part. Just being comfortable with middle school or high school math. I would say you can do algebra. You're probably going to be set for a lot of different tutoring sessions, and of course you can, so that's not an issue. If you're looking to tutor a higher level math, there's a chance that that may happen. But remember, we need to provide the services that the schools need. I think last year, for some of you, I think you were hoping maybe you were going to be able to tutor AP stats or those types of courses, but we needed to go with whatever Dos Pueblos needed at the time. You have a big support system. So you have Grace and you have Jerry, but as I mentioned, we have a program specialist who can also be a support to you, and we have quite a large network. You saw that we have, regions nationally, which those really have just come about in the past year. So you're not alone in it in any case. So we're not going to ask you to take a test to become a tutor like some places do. We have every confidence in you. So really, if you have a friend who's a biology student, they can do math. Math is a language of science. So you might even have some people who are majoring in English that you're friends with, or Spanish, or so one of the languages. It doesn't mean they can't do math. So don't hesitate to invite people to be tutors. You saw Jerry's very ambitious in terms of bringing on additional schools. And so, and if there's, say, things that don't work out, such that, none of the schedules for Santa Barbara work, and we're all filled up, which is, huge anticipation on my part. I know there's also opportunities across the country. So just about anybody can tutor as long as they're comfortable with, middle school and high school math. Got a long
Karen,
answer to that question.
Karen, we talked about speaking a different language. Did you elaborate, or did you want to elaborate on that a little bit more?
No, but I would love for you to, because this is a perfect opportunity.
Oh, okay. So I have a number here that, let me go back to my sheet. So last academic year, 2019 and to this year current, there are approximately 70% of the students were African American or Latino, and at least 74% received free or reduced fare lunch. But Spanish, those of you who may speak Spanish or speak Spanish fluently, that number of Hispanic students that we tutor is quite high. So that'd be a great benefit if you're bilingual and you speak Spanish. And I think when I talked to Karen, there are obviously many of you speak Mandarin Chinese, and that would be helpful in certain areas. And then what other languages do you find are common, Karen?
So right now, the top 5 in the United States for students who are considered English language learners are, in this order, Spanish overwhelmingly, followed by Arabic, followed by either Mandarin or Cantonese. They did not delineate, but they just put it under Chinese in general. And of course, there's many languages, but the 2 primary were lumped together. So that's the 3rd most common need, is Mandarin and Cantonese, followed by Vietnamese, and then followed by, it used to be Hmong, but it's actually now Haitian Creole. Then recently, we were talking to a school in Harrisburg, and Nepalese is a high need. I didn't realize, apparently it is in Vermont as well. So it changes every few years. There's a shift, but we had a request last year. We are working with a tutoring center in Chicago called Project Vision. It's in Chinatown. Most of the students are, their first generation. And so they asked if we had tutors who could speak Cantonese or Mandarin. And I forget which one they asked, whichever one we were able to provide a tutor for was the wrong one. But in any case, it does come up. It is, and as we're expanding across the nation, this is something that we're looking to do, is because we have such a large number of international students, people in the professions who are multilingual, is to be able to pair up with EL students, because it's oftentimes, you get over the language barrier, it can be a quite a difference in terms of how they perform in mathematics. So we are going to be adding that to Volunteer Hub, and I am putting together the Math Motivators newsletter. Hopefully we can get you all subscribed to Volunteer Hub and you'll get it automatically. Otherwise, Jerry can send it out to you or Grace. And it will, in there will include a call for people who do speak multiple languages to share with us what those are. So it's a blessing, certainly, if we do have tutors who are multilingual.
Okay, the final slide, Karen, we're right at 4:59.
All right, look at
Nice
that.
part time. So we're completing our last slide. So this is my information, and feel free to send me a note or your comments, questions, and I'll be happy to address them. Okay, so it's you see it's jerrychg.1022@gmail.com. That's my email for now, and I think eventually I'll have one from the Actuarial Foundation.
Eventually you will. Yes, it would be good.
Okay. Any comments? Any final thoughts from anyone? Chloe, anything?
Yeah, I probably have another last comment. I'm sure a lot of you guys who are participating in here might be enrolled in the honors program at UC Santa Barbara, and you should be aware that as the honor, to keep the status of your honors program, you have to fulfill certain hours of volunteering hours, and that's about 60 to 70-ish hours for the entire 4 years if you start at your first year. So this is actually a really, really great chance for you to fulfill those hours, because this is actually something that is really related to what you are learning. And it's also something that can build up your resume really well when you're like planning to go for like looking for internship or a full-time job, because you see it's a program of actuarial foundation. It is something that is really closely related to actuarial things. And you from the Karen's previous speech, there were a lot of like employers from different companies who have been working with this program before. So that means this should be a really like high quality program that can be like, that can make your resume build up really well. So yeah, if you need those amount of like volunteer hours, why don't you choose the one with the best outcome to help you with your like any future goals. So yeah, Math Motivators is I would say the best choice.
Well, I would say that too. Thank you. I did want to let you know that we really appreciate that you're all here. We appreciate you being in. Those of you who were in the program last year, you're really making a difference in students' lives. Actually, we have a guest on the call who's trying to get a program started in Oakland, California. She actually works for Kaiser Permanente. We invited her to listen in on the call so that she could see how this recruitment goes. So, I mean, just another example of someone who's another math lover who's working in the insurance industry. Like I said, we worked with. Well, we were at 53 companies, 4 government agencies, and about 12 universities last year. And this year we're going to be up to about 20 some universities and at least 60 companies. So a lot of opportunities. And so we hope to see you, and don't hesitate to reach out. And if you have any questions or concerns.
Yeah, this is a great program. Don't feel overwhelmed. We put out a lot of information this hour. But we're Grace, myself, Karen, and we have a solid team of support from other program coordinators. We're all here to help and make this successful. So by all means, I keep encouraging everyone to register, and please do that.
All right.
Yeah, if you guys have like friends who would like to join this program, you can just like email any of us and try to register probably.
Okay, awesome.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.